Welcome back to lesson 2 of gas-free transactions on Polygon. This lesson we're going to be spinning up our front-end React client, and it's also going to use Next. So to get started, we're going to get just a fresh Next app. So I'm just going to copy yarn create Next app, and yeah, I'll just paste it inside of my Biconomy folder, yarn create Next app. And this is outside in the same directory as my smart contract folder. I'm creating the client there, and it's asking what we want it to be called. I'll just leave it as my app. So now it's going to install everything we need for our next JS app. Once we get this done, it should be pretty easy sailing to get this all actually set up and going. Okay, so we can now go into my app, and once we're inside, we can just run yarn dev. And this should just spin up the app just fine. And it looks like it's already done. So I'm actually going to stop this. We're going to run code./ so that I can start coding. And I believe this is my app. Let's start off in an empty directory. Okay, and now let's go back to yarn dev. And then when we're running yarn dev, let's open up a new tab for localhost 3000. Okay, so we are now viewing the response from our server, and let's just change this up. Inside of pages, we'll go into index.js, and we're gonna first scrap most of these p tags and divs. I don't need most of this. We're gonna keep this pretty simple. Welcome to Next.js. We're going to change this welcome to Next.js text to say welcome to gas-free app. dApp, because it is a decentralized app. Welcome to gas-free dApp. Okay. And now the only other thing I think I'm going to want is a button. And we don't have any style libraries yet, so what happens if I just use a button with hello? How bad does it look? Is it worth? That's a pretty poor looking button. So I want to add material UI getting started. And it should just be a simple npmi command. Yep. Okay, it's as simple as running this install command, so we'll stop this. We're gonna... I thought I just copied it. I thought I copied you. I guess I didn't copy it right. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay. So now we're installing the Material UI library. This is going to give us some prettier buttons. It's not super important, but I really can't stand the basic HTML. Go back to running our server. Now we should be able to import button. Button. Oh, are you not gonna... Maybe I gotta close the file and then reopen it. Let's see if now I can use my button. No. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to manually search for button so that I can remember how to import them. Yep, let me see the code. We want just this button. Button. Hello. How's that button looking? Okay, we're getting there. I would like the variant to be contained. There we go. Okay, so now we got a button. Liking the button. Alright, and now we are probably going to want... this is index, and I don't like putting much in index, so let's go ahead and create our first child component. We're going to spin up a new folder in our root directory called components. And inside of components, we're going to make a new file, and we're going to call this MetaMask button.js. So let's make a button first to connect someone's wallet to the app. So we're going to define a const MetaMask button. It's going to be equal to, we're going to do our parentheses, we're not going to pass in any props at the moment, and we're going to use an arrow function, and then we're just going to default export default MetaMask button. Now we are exporting our component with nothing in it. Now let's just render this button inside of our MetaMask component instead of rendering it here. So we'll return that. It's going to complain that I have an imported button, so let's move our import of button. Now we've got our button import. Nowhere is using this file yet though, so let's go back over here, and now we should currently see that our button is gone. Our button is gone, so now let's try to import that button by saying MetaMask button. It already knows my import path, which is great. Going to use a self-closing tag here, and so now we should have our button back on the screen, and in fact we do have our button back there on the screen, and now we've got a child component. So what we want to have happen when we use this button is we're going to want to activate the injected, but as of right now, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing we do not have activating injected because we don't have that Web3 React. So let's go ahead and add our next package, Web3 React, into our app. Here it is, Noah Zinsmeister, currently working at Uniswap as far as I'm aware. And then we should have a getting started somewhere. Here we go. Get started, yarn. Let's go to NPM. Maybe they've got better docs to get started. I know the docs for this have never been super. There we go. React latest. Okay, add ethers, add web3.js. Here we go. Which one do we want, ethers or web3? I think most people prefer ethers, so we're going to go with ethers. Let's stop this. Let's add ethers to our project. And once we add ethers, we will then add Web3 React. Installing ethers. Ethers is the library that we actually use to interact with the blockchain, and Web3 React is a good client-side library for us to manage the current state. Okay, I can pick a version. I'm just going to pick the latest on the list. And then we need to set up our connectors. Yep. Yeah, the next thing we'll be doing is setting up our Web3 provider. As soon as this is done, our Web3 provider is going to go inside of this app. Actually, I can already get started. We don't need to wait. So while this is happening, we're going to import Web3 provider. Now we want to wrap this component in a Web3 provider. Connectors, I guess it's going to want us to, interesting that it wants us to use connectors. I wonder how they're using the connectors here. Yeah, I just want the get library function. Library. Interesting, I don't typically see this usage being done. So now that we have installed Web3 React, I think I want to go back over to these docs. And so now what I'm curious about is the provider. So I want to see the provider first. And let's update this import. Oh, interesting. It looks like even a different package name. I might have just installed the wrong package. Web3 React, yeah, we want, so I'm going to actually remove this package, and we're going to install a different one. I'm sorry about that. So we're just going to say yarn add, and the only difference is we've got that @ symbol at Web3 React Core. Once we install Web3 React Core, yeah, there we go. So now we've got our get library function. We'll put this inside of my app. And I don't like this use const get library. equals, I like my arrow functions. There we go. Okay. And now we can say, super simple, way simpler right here. Boom. Okay, so now we've got our Web3 React provider. So we should be good now, question mark. I think we are all initialized. We should have our Web3 React provider set up. So now we should be able to consume that provider down here. So I can next piece of documentation we want to go to is use Web3 React. So now inside of our MetaMask button, we can paste use Web3 React, and now we should be able to say const active equals use Web3 React. And now I should be able to console.log active, and it should tell us whether or not we are currently active, which means we have connected a wallet to our front-end client. When I go over to my console, we're getting a whole lot of complaining. It's really not liking something, which is probably, I actually don't know what it's not liking right now. I'm curious why it's not logging. Oh, I'm not running my app. Yarn dev. Okay, so let's spin up our app again. That was silly. And once our app's spun up, there we go. Active is false. Perfect. That's what we wanted. So if active is false, then we want this button to activate our Web3 React. So I'm going to make a new function called handle. Well, we're just going to call it activate injected connector. Equals a function, an arrow function, and then we're going to have this on click equals activate injected connector. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to have this alert activates, and so now when we click the button, we get activate, so we can verify that we are in fact making that button click do something. Now we want to import activate. This is going to be a function, and it's going to activate a connector. So now we need a connector. So let's check out the connectors folder, and we want to get the injected connector. And so we want to add our injected connector package first. So we'll stop this, install our injected connector package, and run our app again to make sure that I don't forget to run it again. Once we've installed that, we now should be as simple as pasting, boop. Actually, yeah, we could probably leave this here. And I believe our chain is 80,001. And now we should just be able to activate injected. Okay. Let's see what happens. Activate. Web3 provider is not defined. I'm doing something weird. Let's go over to Web3 React provider. It's saying that Web3 provider is undefined. Okay, so I did something incorrectly. Web3 provider. Import your favorite Web3 convenience library here. New ethers provider. Okay. let's check out an example. I believe they should have an example. Web3 React example, components, not components, connectors, injected. Now I'm looking for injected connector. Is that everything? Okay, that's everything. What is it that I'm missing? I'm missing inside of the top level app. So we want to see pages, app. Okay, he did not wrap it there. He must have wrapped it in his index. Looks like he did. So we've got a Web3 React provider, and then our Git library is taking in a provider, new Web3 provider. Where's Web3 provider coming from? Ethers project providers. Okay. I just need that import. Let's see if that does anything. I need to remove that alert. Active is now true. Okay, so this skipped a little step, but let's go back over here. Let's remove this alert. That's just getting annoying. And now let me disconnect, because I do development work on this machine a lot. So let's disconnect. Now when I click on the hello button, it now tries to connect our account. It defaults to my private key is exposed account, which is very funny. And now active is true. And so we have now connected our wallet to the website, and we should, now let's display that on the site. Let's make a new component. And we're gonna call this, let's make a grid. Let's now start to set everything up inside of a grid. This is gonna be a container. And then inside of here, we're gonna have a grid child, no, it's item. And then we're gonna put our MetaMask button in there. Boop. And now we're also gonna have another grid item. And this one's going to be a new component that we have yet to define. And this is gonna be a new file, and we're gonna call it account or wallet address. Yeah, we'll make it wallet address.js. Const wallet address equals blah de blah bloobity blah bloop 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 export default wallet address. And inside of here, it should yeah, this is going to display our address, and so this should be super simple. I'm going to say const account equals use web3 react. This is going to get us that account variable, and then we'll just return. Let's make this a typography from material UI, and inside of here we're just going to have account. Oop, I made that a little bit. Oop, oop. Okay, now let's import it over here. We're going to use our wallet address. And what do we got now? So now we've got an address, we've got our typography. I would like to justify content equals center, I believe. There we go. And then I want to align items equals space around, I think is what I want. Space dash around. Nope. Let's go to MUI grid. Let's figure out what it actually is that I'm looking for. They should have a little play around thing for me to be able to use. There we go. Okay. So I like space between. Oh, I guess I like space between. Space between. And align items might be center. Not space between, space around. Yeah. Is that really what I want? I don't want to play around with this too long. This is super, super minor. Maybe not space around, maybe it is center. And then extra small equals 3. Not sure where the padding is coming from. There we go, we get a little bit of space there. Want them to be closer. Okay, and now let's change MetaMask button to, instead of saying hello, to say activate, or we'll say connect wallet. There we go, now we've got our connect wallet button. I want to make that a little bit bigger now. So we're going to make this now a 2. There we go, connect wallet. There's our wallet address. So to be honest, I think this is an either or. So MetaMask button, I think we want to be one of 2 things depending on what the current state is. So we want this text to either say, if we are active, we want it to say connect wallet. If it's not active, we want it to say connect wallet. If it is active, we want it to say disconnect wallet. And we can make the color equal active. If it is active, we're going to make it error. And if it's not active, we're going to make it primary. I believe that's what we want. There we go. And then inside of here, instead of our activate injector, so now that this isn't just going to be activate, we're going to change all the occurrences. We're going to refactor this to be handle button click. Much more abstracted. So now we can say if active, we'll do one thing, else we'll activate. And what is it? I think it's deactivate. Deactivate. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. We're now activating, connecting our wallet, and disconnecting our wallet with one simple button click. That's easy. I like how this is looking. The only other thing I want to do now is actually interact with our smart contract. So I can remove this, clean up our code a little bit. I'm loving how clean this code is right now. The only thing I might do is move this grid into its own component. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make a new component called connect wallet grid. So we're gonna make a new component called connect wallet grid.js. Inside of here, we're gonna say const connect wallet grid equals export default connect wallet grid. Let's make that with a D instead of a C. And inside of here, we're going to take this entire grid. Take all this. We'll turn it all. Now it's going to complain that we don't have any of this stuff imported. We want to take all 3 of these imports and move them over. And connect wallet grid. And now these aren't going to be dot dot slash, they're just going to be dot slash. And over here, we now need, and I don't need this footer stuff, this is just junk, so I'm going to throw out some of this junk. I don't even really need this head, to be 100% honest, so we're just going to remove that to clear out cruft. And now we just want to import connect wallet grid. Now we should look exactly the same as before. It's just going to be dot. It's all in the component folder. There we go. Disconnect, connect, disconnect, connect, disconnect, connect. Looking good to me. All right, let's move on to the next step. Now that we've set up a basic wallet connect, let's now put in a new, what do we want to call this? Smart contract grid. Yeah. We're going to make a new component called smart contract grid. And to do that, I'm just pretty much going to copy the connect wallet grid. And I'm going to rename it to smart contract grid. Copy this name, enter. Now I can rename inside of here. We'll leave everything else the same for now. And now let's just get our smart contract grid in here. And we can remove some of these unused imports. Looking very clean so far. Now we've got this stacked, not looking the hottest, but we can fix it up quite nicely. First thing I'm going to want to do is I want a little bit of padding around the connect wallet grid, so I'm going to use the box component from Material UI, and then we're going to put this entire grid inside of a box. Box lets us do nice styling stuff, so we're just going to use margin equals, let's see what margin equals 3 looks like. Way too much around it, so let's make it margin equals 1. And to be honest, I don't want it on the sides, I only want it on kind of the top, so let's just try margin top equals 3. Now I'm confused. Might just not have updated. Let me try refreshing here. Is it just the box that got me? It might just be the box that got me. Yeah, it's the box that got me. Maybe I should wrap it on the outside of the grid. Let me look up if there is a full width component or prop inside a box. Starting to feel like I might be spending too much time on the styling. Component is span. That might be what I want. It might be a span component. Okay, let's see how that looks. Nope, still. What happens if I make a component equals grid? Nah. Div? I am not sure. And so I'm starting to not want this right here. Okay, let's try removing it from here, and let's try importing it in the parent. And if this doesn't work, I might just box. You still gonna squeeze me? Okay. Grr. Grr, grr, grr. I just wanted a little bit of padding on top. I guess I could do another grid. I really don't want to stack my grids. Whatever. Whatever. Outside of the scope of this is the design. So let's go back into the smart contract grid. Now inside of smart contract grid, let me think. We need a button, and we also need a text field. So let's, instead of wallet address, let's make a new component called, we could just do this in line, but it is nicer, it is a little bit cleaner to not, so well, let's see how it looks. Text field from Material UI. Now we've got a text field on the screen, and now let's put a placeholder. Or actually, before we do this, we haven't read the value yet, and I'm already on to try to read it. That being said, let's have the button, and then let's have the current value somewhere. I guess we could set the placeholder as the current value. That could be interesting. Const. So let's make a state variable to hold the value of the current value of the smart contract, and we'll hold that in a variable called value, I guess. No, values val. Set val. And we're going to use state, import that from React. And the initial value we will set to be 0. And as of right now, the value should not be anything on chain either. Oh, it's not value, it's val. Okay. And now we need a use effect to actually read that value from the chain. And so we'll read that value from the chain using the Ethers.js library, because that is the library we're using. So to do init smart contract, to do and we'll want to read the value, but what does that mean, read the value? We'll now want to open up our smart contract code. And so if you've got another tab, let's cd into by economy, let's clear, let's ls, cd into smart contract. I guess I could just, I like having two separate ones. So now let's code.slash our smart contract so that we can have these two code bases side by side. Okay, I'm going to put the smart contract way over here. And so the method we're going to want to call from our smart contract at first is going to be the retrieve method. Retrieve dot call. And that dot call is going to allow us to call this method without needing to actually perform a transaction or sign a message. And then to do set val response. Something like that. So the first step is initializing our smart contract. Let's look up how to do that. Ethers smart contract init. Let's see if they've got Ethers.js, initialize project, we've got all our npms, .env, hard hat, deploying a smart contract, Alchemy, installing Ethers, updating, writing our deploy script, deploying it, nope, no, we want integrate your React out with smart contract. Okay, let's control F Ethers. Only 2 occurrences, so this is not helpful. Seriously, none of these people are talking about Ethers. Okay, so let's just go into the Ethers documentation. We're going to look up contract, creating instances. Ethers.contract. There it is. We need Ethers imported here, Ethers .contract, and now we need the address of our contract, the ABI of our contract, and the signer or provider. It's going to be a little bit, so let's go ahead and get those things. First, let's get the address of our contract. I already have my tab open, so it's very easy for me to get my smart contract address from the last video. If you need to go back to the last video to check it out, how we got that, you can. So let's set that as our address. Now we need an ABI, so that should be probably a require statement. I believe it's going to be a require statement. Yeah, it's just going to be an import of that. So let's get the smart contract imported, the ABI. We're going to artifacts, contracts, box.json. Here is our ABI. So all I got to do is copy this array. Now we'll head back over here and let's make a new folder called ABI. New folder, we'll call this ABI. And inside of here, we will say new file, abi.json. Paste our JSON. We now have an ABI. So next, we just need to import our ABI. So let's do that by saying import ABI from /ABI/ABI.json. Okay, we should now have an ABI, so this should resolve. Looks like it does take us over to our ABI, so that should be just fine. And then finally we need a signer or provider. And honestly, I can probably omit this. I think I can omit this, so we'll see if I can. Let's console log contract and we see what we have. Console.log contract. What do we got here? Looks like we've got a contract. It looks like we've got our methods. So let's try calling one of these methods. Let's try const new val smart contract val equals await contract dot, I think it's methods. Oh, I can just call contract.retrieve. And then let's console.log response. I don't know how it'll look, so I'll just do console.log smart contract val. Can't do it. It's not an asynchronous function. So I'm going to quickly just kind of wrap this const get, we're going to call this init, an initialize function. Const init equals async. It's an async function. So now I can boop, and then we'll just call init. And then to make sure this doesn't run too often, I'm only going to have it called when we first start the app. Okay, cannot read property call contract.retrieve. Where are we reading call? Maybe that's it. Let's look up method. Contract.method name. It should just be retrieve.call. And then I guess it might want some parameters in here. I think it's just from, if I remember right. So we should just be able to say from account, but account's not defined right now, so let's really quickly get account const. We'll do this after our state. Const account equals use web3 React. So now we got an account, and this is going to come from their account, hoping that they have an account. Ethers JS call example. Probably making a very silly mistake. They're going to sign a message here. Activate. I don't think they do any smart contract signing. I just want to read a value. Don't have any calls. Ethers JS web3 React. So what I'm trying to do right now is I am trying to call the retrieve method from our contract, but I'm currently getting an error that says cannot read value, properties of null, reading call. So that is telling me that we do not have a provider attached yet. So let me look up new Ethers contract. I might be able to just go library.provider, and library is going to come from use web3 React as well. Library. Okay. Our wallet is not connected. That is very true. We only want to run this. Let's jump back out here. What's going on right now is that we don't have a value for library, I believe. So I want to only conditionally render the smart contract grid if we are active. So we're going to say const active equals use web3 React. And now we're going to only do this if active. So we'll say active and then we've got that. Okay. Okay, so I need a signer or provider is invalid. And so I am still calling this incorrectly. Let's log what library.provider is. Console.log library.provider is a proxy. Well, let's just see what library is, because I might just be doing this wrong. So web3 provider. Maybe it's just library. Hey, are we actually getting a response? Looks like we're actually getting a response. Okay, let's see how we convert this hex. Or I think Ethers actually has a big number. Okay, let's try this. And I believe this is also going to come from ethers, so I think I can say big number. And I believe, so let's console.log. Let's see what we're getting here if I try to big number from smart contract val. Looks like I didn't really change anything. We're still... I want to... toNumber returns the value as a JavaScript value. So let's try .toNumber, and I actually think it's a function. It is, and it's going to return a number, hopefully. There we go. Now we've got 42 coming back. That's interesting that 42 is what's coming back. Interesting. Very curious why. I actually am not even sure we need a count anymore now that we've got library set up. Looks like we do not. Okay, let's try refreshing our page. We should be disactivated or disconnected. Connecting the wallet. We're now good. I don't know why it's 42. I'm very surprised it's 42, but that being said, it looks like we are now reading the value from our smart contract, and so now let's work on one, displaying it, and then two, updating it. So what we're going to do, we don't need to console log this anymore. We're just going to set val to this. Boom. So now we've done step one, we definitely initialized the smart contract. Step two, we got the response. Step three, we set the value. Here it is in 3 simple steps. Now we have the value and we are pre-populating it as a placeholder. Next up, I want to have the ability to, I guess we're not using a count right now. Next up, we're going to want a new button. And this button is going to write to the smart contract, and we're going to have this button be the update button. New file, up. Well, what is the method called in our smart contract? In our smart contract, the method is called store. So we're going to call the store button. Store button equals export default store button. And then inside of here, we're going to return button. Store value. And now we need to import this here. Store button. And I want this button to be variant equals contained. Boom. And then we want a handle button click function. And that's going to be our onClick equals handle button click. And inside of our handle button click, let's do that same thing where we just alert handle. Okay. Now I want to alert, I want it to alert this value. And so what we're going to do is inside of store button, we're going to pass a value equals val. So now inside of store button, we want to add one prop called val. And then let's change this to string interpolation, $val. Now we've got val as 42. And so I think we actually want to pass in new val into here. And then this is going to be 0. And then this is going to be new val. Placeholder value equals new val. On change equals, and nope, on change equals an inline function, e, arrow function, where we're going to set new val to e.target.val. And that should be good enough. I don't want this to have a default, so let's... Don't need the connect wallet grid open right now. Don't need you, just smart contract grid. And let's have this default to null. That way we actually get that placeholder. But now when I click this, we get undefined. Okay, that's interesting. It's probably e.target.value. There we go. Okay. Nice. Okay, so now we can type in a number and it's going to get saved there in state. And so now we just want to actually execute a smart contract transaction when that's clicked. So right inside of here, we're going to want to follow a similar procedure to what we did in smart contract grid for us to be able to execute the transaction. Let's go into our store button. Let's paste our contract. We need our ABI as well. And then we need a library. Const library equals use web3 react. Okay, and then again, it's not gonna like this, so we're gonna make. Well, wait, why isn't it gonna like that? I should just make this async. There we go. Now instead of retrieve, we're going to actually write to the chain, and so that method to write to the chain is called store. Store. And then the value is going to be val. I don't think anything's actually returned from this. It's just emitting that event. So should be simple enough. We just need to await that. I'm not sure this is all we're going to need. I think we're probably going to need more. But let's see what happens. Ethers is not defined. Okay, let's import ethers. I don't need big number here. Requires a signer. Okay. I think I can pass in a second and then say from account. That way we know it's from this account. Okay, let's go back to see what I am doing wrong. Contract.method name, args. You're not going to tell me what these args are you? maybe we want to go from here. Might need to call .send. Let's see what happens if we call .send. I'm doubtful that this is going to work. Sending a transaction requires a signer. Okay, let's see what this says when I try looking it up. There we go. Okay, so it looks like we need to attach a signer. So here we'll call this signer. Let's see what that does, and I'm going to remove this send. Is that gonna do it for us? Looks like that is opening up our MetaMask, and it is populating it with a value. This is looking kind of cool. Okay, let me change this to 58. Let's see what happens here. I didn't even check if I'm on the right network. Looks like we are triggering the store event, and it looks like it was confirmed. Let's view it. Okay, it looks like it'll be reflected in a short while. Let me check over here on our transactions on our smart contract. Refresh. Okay, let's wait till it shows up in the block. But it looks like we might have just updated the value. Let's refresh this and see if it's now 58. 58, it looks like we updated it. What happens if I change it to 123? So, one thing to note, the whole goal is for us to not pay gas, and right now, as you can see, I am clearly paying gas. So this is not like the full end-to-end solution. We did get that successful transaction. It was included at EIP-2771, and when I refresh the contract, we've got that new storing event. So we're looking good. Looks like we were able to write. Was this transaction successful? It was. So now if I refresh the page, 123. So it is officially, we're updating values on the blockchain. We can see that these transactions are being saved on chain, and we are also paying for gas. So we have officially set up our front-end dApp to connect our wallet, disconnect our wallet, and update, read from the blockchain, as well as update the value on the blockchain. In the next tutorial, in the next video, we're going to start to actually set up the gas-free transactions. As a little bit of a primer, what we're going to be following is I'm going to be looking up Biconomy tutorial, and then we should see the Biconomy getting started docs. And from inside of here, we're going to be using Mexa to enable gasless transactions. And we're going to be using the EIP-2771 implementation. So I can click on EIP-2771, and then here we are actually implementing the methods. So this is what we're going to be doing in the next video. We're going to update our smart contract first. We're going to deploy an upgrade to our smart contract so that it should work. And then once we do that, we will update our front-end code to interact with it as well. Great work setting up your front-end React. If you've got any questions, please let me know. Reach out to me on any social media platform at sweetman.eth. Otherwise, this is Sweets. I will see you in the next lesson. Thanks, everyone.